Well, last night we saw The Block. Yeah, that was a big sort of a TV thing that was on last night. And there was 4 properties that went to market. Wow, rather shock. Only 2 of them could be sold above the reserve, and they're around the 1.1 million mark. So what's happening out there, Dave Saunders, our man from Aro Advisors?
Geez, Max, if we're discussing The Block, it must be a slow news day. But hey, we are where we are. Look, I do actually think this is actually kind of interesting because for the last couple of years, or in fact, geez, in the last decade, you couldn't lose on residential property. You throw some money at something and it just magically grew in value. Yeah, that seems to have come to an end or be coming to an end, or who quite knows what's happening.
Why, Dave? Why?
It's a really good question. One of the reasons, and there's probably more than one, but one of the reasons is cost. And that's not just the cost of the house. That's, most houses are purchased with debt. And it's the cost of the debt that has gone up a lot. And
well,
so,
none of us can buy a house without getting a loan. So there you go. So is that
still
gone up,
done pretty
Dave,
well. Some people won lotto a couple of weeks back. They're probably okay. But most people we need to borrow some money. And if we go back, say 18 months, you could borrow money at like 2%, versus now it's more like 6%, which still by historic standards is pretty cheap. But I want to explain the difference in those two numbers, 2% and 6%, right? On $1 million mortgage, which in Auckland, not uncommon. So if we borrowed $1 million at 2%, over the 30 years of the mortgage, if we could keep it at 2% the whole time, we would pay a total of $330,000 of interest. And if we're paying it off monthly, we'd be paying $3,700 per month. So that was 2%. Now we jump up to 6%, same amount, $1 million borrowed. The interest has gone from $330,000 over the life of the loan to $1.15 million.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's an $825,000 increase. And our repayments have gone from $3,700 a month up to $6,000 a month. And so whereas before we'd go, oh yeah, $1 million, sort of no big deal, now it's a lot more expensive to service that debt. And so that's at least part of the reason why we're not seeing the meteoric rises in property prices that we once were. There's a bunch of other tax stuff in there for investment properties, all that sort of carry on, but I think the interest rates right now are the killer.
Well, you can see that. And of course, everyone watches the Reserve Bank and what it does. And I believe that's got a big impact on where we sit with our interest rates, which are going up and up. And from what I hear, Dave, from the economists, it's been predicted to go up even more. Is that right?
Yeah, and so New Zealand's a little economy down in the corner of the world. We largely kind of have to follow what the rest of the world does. Otherwise, our exchange rate gets absolutely hammered. And to be fair, again, over the last couple of months, it has been hammered anyway. One of the things that the US is trying to drive down inflation at the moment, and they're signaling, if anything, they're going to be pushing their rates up higher. And so we should probably expect that the Reserve Bank is going to kind of try and stay within step of them, which does mean at the moment, it looks like a reasonable chance interest rates will continue going this way.
Well, isn't that wonderful? Some more
Not
cheerful,
really.
more cheerful news from Dave Saunders. Thanks, Dave. See you next week.
Don't shoot the messenger.